Welcome to Love, Food, Family, Recipes from the Kitchen Disco. I'm Silvana Franco, I'm from the food team at the Telegraph, and I just want to thank you all for joining us at this exclusive subscriber event. Now, I'd like to start by welcoming our guests, but before we do that, there's just a couple of things that I need to run through with you. If you want to make the video full screen, you can click at the square at the bottom of the screen and then it'll go full. And please do send us your questions. If you scroll down, there's a Q&A box that you can ask your questions and they'll come through to us to answer. So, let's thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Sophie and Richard, musicians and also now cookbook authors.
Oh my word.
So, your book,
surreal.
It comes out today.
Yeah.
So whose idea was it to write the book?
Both of us.
Yeah, it was actually. And I mean, we actually had the first conversation about having a cookbook actually quite a long time ago. I think it's about 5 years ago now, wasn't it?
We love food.
We do.
We're big foodies.
We are.
So it was always in the back of your mind, wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice?
A family cookbook?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. We even had the title and we had the kind of concept, and we wrote a few recipes up to kind of pitch them.
And nobody was interested.
Nobody called us.
So did it change then during lockdown when you started doing your kitchen discos? That made a lot of difference then, because we were all at home cooking more, and suddenly, you know, the family are getting involved just because of the nature of it.
Definitely, and I think also the fact that for us, the fact people were seeing into our home and being literally in our kitchen. So when Octopus approached us about doing a cookbook, I don't really know how they reacted when we actually immediately sent over sort of like tons of recipes and the whole idea, but they were brilliant at kind of helping actualise something we had kind of in our peripheral vision for a little while. And also an incredible treat. It's such
it's such a privilege.
It really is. Like, I still can't quite believe we've managed to, we've got our own cookbook. It's incredible.
It's quite, because I look at a lot of cookbooks, this is quite different. The way you've laid it out is quite different, because normally we've got, maybe it's by course or it's by season. How have you approached it?
I don't know. We've done it essentially by cuisine, by region, because I guess in our heads we're sort of thinking about trying to tell our story. Because I think my favourite cookbooks, like the Nigel Slater books, we love, and the Leon books great as well. They have a heart to them where you really feel the personality of the cook.
As a character.
And also it's cooking. It's not we're not chefs.
Yes.
So we're trying to get across that this is just a normal family at home cooking.
That's true.
And because of our, our family, which is in the title, and the various things that they've brought to the table, along with all of our touring and travelling around the world, we kind of grouped it together by that sort of by regions, I suppose.
Yeah, like inspired by, and then we knew right from the start as well that we wanted to involve our family. So yeah, they're all in there as well and represented.
And so at mealtimes, might you go, right, let's have Mexican tonight, or we're going to, so you just start with the theme and then choose your favourite recipe when you're eating together?
I think it's the family favourites no, I think it's more kind of literal really. It might be like, we would really love some wraps tonight, like let's do Mexican style wraps, or like the kids absolutely love Japanese food, so all the maki and stuff that we've done in there, that's all something we do all the time with the kids.
That's a good point though that I hadn't really thought about, is that maybe get my head around why we did it like this, is that because we're always cooking for at least 7, us and 5 kids, and then often there'll be extras coming in.
After play dates and...
Yeah, and then you've got like from 3-year-old up to an 18-year-old, and then us and friends and family, whoever. I think the whole thing of it's almost like when you go within the palette of, say, Mexican food or the palette of Japanese food, what we tend to do, which is in there, is we'll make a load of sushi rice, and then for the grown-ups we'll do a chiriashi bowl, which is really easy to do, but you can then just adapt that for yourselves. And then with the kids we'll make maki, which looks ridiculous but tastes great, and they hoover that stuff
They really do. And actually I think you're right that when you said about the way that we cook, we might say, oh, we're going to do this, and then if we need to make it from a meal to a feast, you can pull in all the other things that will complement it.
You can go a bit mix and match, like you can make that one a bit hotter, or this person won't eat coriander.
Which we have to do, but we can't run I always say to the kids, we can't run a cafe. You know, it's not like you have a choice of 7 things. You know, there'll be, as you say, like
That's
nice.
how our family kitchen often runs along those lines as
Yeah.
well.
Cool.
But what you did do that I thought was a stroke of genius. It was such a great idea. Was you put the QR code to your playlists in there?
Yeah.
And that was whose idea was that one?
That was Richard's idea.
That's so clever.
Yeah, well, I'm a tech geek. We discussed this earlier.
And it wasn't just one playlist. It was like it's a different playlist.
Well, because obviously we can't have recipes from the kitchen disco without music. And both being musicians, music is the threads to everything we do. So when we're cooking and when we're eating, and food and music just go together perfectly, don't they?
Yeah, there's always something playing, isn't there?
Yeah, and so, you know, there's a whole chapter on cocktails. As you saw, we're having a couple here. And along with that, we needed the music to go along. So I just thought, as well, we couldn't just have one playlist because there are different moods.
Yeah.
So there's one for the party, there's one for when you're cooking, there's one for like a dinner, there's one for, you know, the different themes of the book.
And do you I think that when I'm cooking, if the music that I'm listening to affects the turnout of the dish, like if I'm really enjoying the songs, then I think I get a better result.
Definitely, and I think it helps relax you.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always, for me, cooking has been a way that I de-stress, actually. Even when I was at school, as soon as I was in the years old enough where you could leave to go out for lunch and come back in, I would go home, make myself lunch and come back, because I just used to like I found it very soothing, the process of making myself something to eat. And I think for us, like, playing music is the same thing. And, you know, I like it so that, you know, if the music's playing that way, you know, if you're making something and someone's talking, like, say you've got friends coming over, you can be chatting, but they'll be like, there's this kind of happy atmosphere. So even if you're thinking, oh, actually, I've forgotten to put that in, it's kind of all chilled.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all going to be all right. It'll end up on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's lovely. Who cooks most at home out of the two of you?
Well, I'd say actually it used to be it's probably back to being pretty balanced, but during lockdown, Richard did, I'd say, something like 70% of the cooking, didn't you? You were the main person, maybe more actually. It kind of became like, I'm sure this happened in loads of households.
You'll divide and conquer.
Yeah, so Richard would take care of that while I'd be doing something probably with the kids or something exciting like laundry. But I really, thanks very much. I really, I'm very much, I love cooking, but I'm also very happy to be cooked for, so it works
that's we all like to not have to cook our own dinner. So what do you like Richard to cook for you?
Oh, blimey.
There's a few in there, isn't there?
There's definitely a few in there. I think
because there's like, to be said, like a lot of these, there's a lot of it's feasting, and there's a few in there which are the things that we'd cook when it's just the two of us.
Yeah, like I mean, my brain automatically goes to things like the spaghetti vongole, absolutely love that. Or grilled lobster, things like that, like things that are a little bit decadent and fun.
Richard will make those for you. And Richard, what are you asking for when it's your turn to sit on the sofa?
The cod and chorizo stew, which is in there, is actually one of Sophie's specialities. That you kind of sort of like evolved out of, you kind of created it out of, I don't know what.
I think it's like a store cupboard one. It's one of those good midweek suppers when you're thinking, what can I cook
often one
tonight?
when if I come back from the studio or something and Sophie's cooked that, it's great. I love it. It's so warming and homely.
And a bit spicy too.
And a bit spicy.
Yes, I like it a bit spicy.
Love spice so much.
Yeah, but we're kind of really happy with lots of stuff, and we also cook together. If we're cooking for lots of folk, or actually if we're doing like Sunday lunch at home or whatever, then we're quite good now at knowing what we should start on. So Richard might take on, I don't know, roasting the meat, and I'll do all the side dishes and that kind of thing, or barbecuing is the same sort of thing.
So you can be harmonious together in the kitchen.
Yeah, we can't
cook the
same dish together very easily.
No, also that's why we did the book
fine.
together, because it is honest to how we
definitely
live and eat. And like if we're cooking for each other, just each other, then like I have this thing which I do when we're DJing as well, because we DJ together, where she'll do a mix and then I can't help but just like
to touch the little buttons again.
But Lisa's a bit more bass. It's like, get off. And that's the same if she's cooking for me.
You can't interfere.
And if I like lean over to change the heat setting or something.
Oh, come on, that's annoying, isn't it?
That's not allowed. It's really difficult, especially I do most of the cooking. If my husband's attempted something, I just keep it zipped. Stay out the way and just.
But we do, so that's separate cooking, but all the feasting meal, because obviously we're cooking for loads of people, we've just kind of have not even really done it with any kind of intent, have we? It's evolved into a thing where I do one thing and you do another.
And we really enjoy it. I love that thing of we've had up to like 40 or 50 people around.
It lightens the load, you know, of all the work.
Enjoy it.
Because you are experts in food and music, the pressure must really be on them when you're entertaining people. expect a lot, right?
Well, I would correct you on the expert thing.
Not
I mean,
experts.
we are.
Now we've had a cookbook out. That's people are going to be like, right, what are you doing?
And funnily enough, I said this to Rich, and I've feel comfortable again now. But when we first started doing the cookbook, I got so paranoid about my cooking. I was sort of questioning everything because I was like, I'm supposed to know everything now. Doing a cookbook, I think you get that sort of imposter syndrome thing. But actually, my favourite kind of cooking is the thing where it's about the extension of affection and love and togetherness. And I'm not trying to get someone to review my food. I don't want to sit back and go, tell me exactly how you're experiencing the flavours I put. I don't want them to think about it. I want them to be having such a good conversation or enjoying what music we're listening to or laughing about something, that the food is just an extension of that atmosphere. That's what I want.
Yeah, so it's not about the technicality of the dish, it's what you've put into it and how you've prepared it.
Yeah, and obviously if I do my gigs, then I want them to say I'm amazing at that. Just to clarify.
That's actually our day job.
Richard, you likened cooking to writing a song.
Yeah, no, very much so. I think I actually know a lot of musicians who feel the same way and really enjoy cooking and find it quite therapeutic, and we both just find it like a way to relax. But the process and the things that are involved in making a dish is very similar to making a record. It's a mix. I mean, that's literally what they call it, the same thing. And so, as I think I said in the intro, with music, you have your elements from the bass at the bottom and the drums going up to the keyboards kind of in the middle, and then you have the vocals and the percussion at the top. And food has a similar thing where you have your sort of base flavours or your potatoes, and then you kind of go through that into the meat, and then it's almost like you can think of it like a spectrum that rises up to kind of acids and salts at the top, and it's the balance between the way all of that comes together in any cuisine from anywhere in the world is when something becomes delicious. And so making a record is in fact making the book was a really similar process to making an album. We found,
with all the different influencers and other people's inputs.
The team, the team,
from the art people to the Emily, who is the amazing chef that helps
Emily Ezekiel,
put all the recipes together.
And her friend Izzy Crocker did all the amazing photography, and Yaja, who did all the artwork. Like, it was really amazing to be part of all these people who really know their stuff, and then you're exchanging ideas back and forth. I really enjoyed it.
And just as when you make an album, Sophie's a solo artist and she's on the cover, but it's not like she literally played every instrument, took all the photos. There's a whole.
Are you telling people that?
But I think I kind of thought when it came to something like a cookbook, it would be more of a solitary. Okay, you give us everything, and then maybe someone does the artwork. But I didn't realise that just like making an album, we have producers, mix engineers, we have all these people that collaborate to help our idea become something real.
And it's lovely to be part of that.
And your dad was a chef.
Yes.
So you've grown up loving food.
Grown up around food, loving food. A couple of his recipes are in there. He didn't cook a great deal at home because he was just cooking all day. But I used to go in to the kitchen at the Ashdown Forest Golf Hotel in Forest Row. That's where I worked when I was a kid, where I was born, not in the hotel, but born in Forest Row. And grew up, and he'd have me doing, washing up and chopping up vegetables and stuff from a very young age.
Right.
And there's a recipe in there called Richard Pie on the Stairs Jones from when I was about 6 or 7.
Oh, yes.
He used to get me to deliver the food down to the bar.
You didn't sound like a very good helper.
Well, what happened, I think I was up until that point, but I was only 6 or 7, I was really tiny. And I think the guys in the bar just thought it was quite funny and cute, this little kid coming down. And it was steak and Guinness pie and chips. I'll never forget it. It's ingrained in my memory forever. And I was walking down the stairs, tripped over, went everywhere, and they all laughed. They're all with their pints, and ever since they called me Richard Pie on the Stairs Jones.
That's your family nickname now. Ah,
it's your family.
Not my family nickname.
It's not put you off making.
I think it's what the people in the bar would still call me.
You still like a pie, though.
I would put it in the book.
Who doesn't like a pie? Come on.
Yeah.
It hasn't put you off pies.
It hasn't put you off pies.
No.
That's good. So at the moment, then, you're in the middle of festival season.
Yeah, loads of festivals, and happily a lot of them they really complement the food and music element, because we're doing things like Foodies Festival, where there's loads of chefs and local restaurants giving up their fare, and
It's relatively new, that, isn't it?
It really is, but it's booming. Every year there seems to be more and more festivals like that.
They're really fun to play, aren't they?
They really are.
And actually, it's quite serendipitous because now we've got a cookbook, we can do both elements. So we'll actually, some of the Foodies festivals, now the book's out, we're actually going to do some cooking demos and then play the gig after.
Amazing.
So we can do the music and the food.
Yeah.
That's,
And try some new food as well. Eat some
Oh, the
stuff.
food they have at them is great.
Yes,
It's
that
really
did
good.
not used to be the case. It
I
used
know.
to be a horrible packet macaroni cheeses and things like
know.
that. But
Yeah.
now, yeah,
Well, they've
noodles.
kind of focused the festival on a day out with food, and then the music's almost like a kind of bit of fun at the end.
Yeah, so it's actually really fun to play because everybody's in a good mood already.
Now, is it possible to answer the question, what's the greatest meal you've ever eaten?
Oh.
Is it the same as asking what's the best song
It is
you've
a
ever?
bit.
It's impossible to put your finger on, isn't
What's
it?
the God only knows of food?
And also sometimes, you know, something can be exquisite and you think, how have they managed to make this? And other times it can be the most simple thing that just tastes.
I'll tell you what's a
Incredible.
slight pet hate of mine is when people say that's the greatest Negroni I've ever had. but they say it every day.
They say it to you.
They say, no, you know, it's like, oh, that's the best nut I've ever had.
Yeah.
But they say it every day about every single thing.
Maybe they're just really enthusiastic.
Maybe it's a nice way to
yeah.
be.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's a nice way
They're
to
really
live. So that
grumpy.
everything is just the best thing you've ever had
To
every
fully
time.
appreciate everything. I think it's time now to look at questions.
Okay. Let's see how crazy
Let's
they
see. Now then. There's a question here. It's an anonymous question. The question is, did Kitchen Disco bring you together closer as a family during lockdown?
You know what, it's really hard to answer because I knew from the start of lockdown that I was, you know, in lockdown with all the people I would choose to be in lockdown with. I knew I liked everybody. I think it's
It was a big, like, therapeutic kind of wonderful thing that we did, and that
to have the kitchen
Yeah.
disco. Yeah, because I was going to say the pandemic,
Not the pandemic,
lockdown
not the
was not
lockdown.
therapeutic and lovely.
but
Really
that
stressful.
element of it was something that kind of kept us sane.
Well, I think, you know what, I think, and I'm sure a lot of people would identify with this, but I think everything we went through has kind of, it put pressure on everything. So the stuff that was small and joyful became more so. And the things that were, you know, there were some things that had cracks and couldn't take the strain, you know, and I think having that pressure put on our family and how we live and our home life, really, to me, it expanded the places where we do find everyday joy. So putting on silly music and all dancing together. It was like, right, let's take that thing we do quite often and then like make that day glow and really push it to the max. And I think it was really nice that I'm sure lots of families found their thing, but for us it was a really lovely thing we could share together, that half hour on a Friday night. I mean, there was lots of times when we weren't day glow.
Many moments of like the same stresses trying to deal with
oh my goodness.
5 different children. We pretty much gave up on homeschooling.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It was just impossible.
Well, that, and just our own stress and not being able to work and all the stuff we liked. Anyway.
Did your children help you with the recipes for the book?
Well, yes, that's true. Kit's got a recipe in there and they've put their input into lots of it. I mean, well, actually everything, I'd say. It's got their input in it in terms of the feedback. And as I said at the start, when you're feeding lots of mouths, a successful meal to us is when most people eat most of the things. Not, you know, you're not getting a full house of all the kids going, awesome. There's like, they're in there, but it's few and far between, I think. But yeah, there's some of the recipes, but also it's quite funny because they did some art as well. So our eldest has done some of the illustrations. There's some doodles from our 10-year-old, our 6-year-old, which is quite sweet. And actually there's a picture in there of this sign that Ray, our 10-year-old, has on the door, and it says something like Team Bananas.
Oh, yes.
And he's really cross it's in there because he's worried someone is going to take hold of this idea and sort of mass produce it.
Oh.
So if you won't mind making sure that doesn't happen.
Belongs
I
to
promised him I'll be on
Okay,
it.
it belongs-
Team Bananas.
But talking about feeding children, so the mix and match idea so that they can, you know, make it their own. What other tips have you got then to encourage, not fussy, I don't want to call them fussy, but, you know, individual eaters to try more?
And I was quite sort of sure of what I liked and didn't like when I was a kid as well. I eat everything now. But.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think they're all different in their way that they, you know, their palates are, where they approach food. But certain things like, I always find it interesting, a thing like maki, which we spoke about already, which is essentially just sushi, rice and seaweed and something in it, whether that's cucumber or fish or whatever you like. If I put those 3 elements in a bowl, like rice with a bit of fish on top, they would never touch it.
Yeah.
I roll it up and chop it up, even if it looks a bit wonky. They eat absolute tons of
true,
it.
yeah.
It is funny. Avocado's the same. As soon as
Yeah.
you ask them to mash it and squeeze a bit of lemon juice in, then they love it.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think actually getting them involved has been good. I mean, you know, you you can't make a kid get excited about cooking themselves something to eat, but I think if you see a little kernel of it, go for it, and don't worry about them getting mucky. Like on Saturday mornings, I always make pancakes.
Nice.
And so I have, Mickey's really keen, he's 3, so I give him his own little bowl, his own flour, his own egg, so he can just be doing what he does. So he's not going to actually affect the outcome of what I'm doing, and he feels like he's really involved.
You've got to let go of the mess as well.
Yeah, but that's all fine, you know, you can wipe it all away at the end.
And so you basically focus on encouragement rather than sort of like getting irritated and saying, you must try this and...
Yeah. No, and the more stress you put around active eating, you're guaranteed that's going to become a bigger thing, because it's autonomy, isn't it? They've got that control over their plate, and they can pick up on your stress if you're stressed about it. So I think, just try and be relaxed. The things they enjoy, see if you can expand that a little bit.
Yes.
And if they've got a tiny little spark they might like cooking, go for it, because I want all my kids to leave home being able to cook.
Yeah, that's gonna. And your oldest now is how old?
He's 18.
So going away to college soon?
Yeah, he's got another year left of school, and then I don't know what he's going to do after that. And he does like food, Sonny, but I think he's probably, out of all of us, he's the one that gets he's the least sort of experimental, isn't he, at the moment? But he can make himself stuff to eat, definitely.
Do you think that they encourage each other? You know, if you're sitting around the table and one child is trying a thing and is enjoying it,
definitely.
That can,
and if one is like,
pass on.
oh, I don't like it.
That definitely.
If
someone turns it
really
down,
annoying.
I'm like,
I'm always like,
yeah, stop it.
Yeah. You can guarantee the other, like the little ones, will just be like,
I don't like it.
oh, I don't like it. Even if they've been eating it all, that's annoying.
Very unhelpful.
Yeah, very unhelpful. Agreed.
But let's talk about your podcast, Spinning Plates.
Okay.
Such a great title, right, for all of our lives.
Well, it's the first thing that pops into my head, because it's a podcast where I speak to working women who happen to be mothers, which obviously is a conversation I have with lots of my girlfriends about how you get that balance, and you know, you do your work and you want something for yourself, but you've also got all of the, you know, the other part of your brain that's dealing with raising the family and all of that. So that's sort of the icebreaker of the conversation. But actually, once I'm recording the podcast, that's just where we start, and we can kind of get anywhere, really. And I think I'm just fascinated by people's relationship with their work as well.
And it's now in its 6th series.
Yeah.
So how many people have you chatted to?
So I've published 70 now. And I've got a few I've got reserved for the next series, and I'm just always kind of chipping away with it, really. There's so many people, like, you couldn't exhaust that if you tried. It's like there's so many people to talk to, and every conversation there's something that comes out of it where I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way to put that, or it's, you know, unique insight, or just someone who's lived a different life and how they get on with it. I find it really interesting.
And that's another project that you work on together.
Yeah, well, Richard edits it, so it was kind of by default, because I started in lockdown and we didn't know it was going to be the case. So hopefully you're still happy about it.
Oh, I quite like doing it.
You enjoy it, Richard.
Brilliant job.
Yeah.
And you do lots of things together, but you've also do such a lot separately, don't you? You've just got a new album out, Richard.
Yes, from my band The Feeling, we have our 6th album out, following on from the Jamie movie musical that came out last year, which Dan, our singer, wrote, and the band, we all played on the soundtrack. So yeah, it's been super busy. We really love working together. I mean, it's such a, not only is it something we enjoy, it also is a way of spending more time together.
Yeah, no, we do really love it, actually. I hope that's not too sickening to say, but we do, and I think it's just, we've sort of evolved all these different things we get up to, and as you say, it's like a way to kind of, like, we start when we start DJing as well, things like an excuse to spend more time and have adventures. It's like, keep each other in each other's worlds, I think.
We actually met, and when was it? 2002, about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I auditioned to be in Sophie's backing band after she'd had Murder on the Dance Floor out and was having these hits and needed a band to tour. And we toured. I toured in your band when I was trying to make my own band, you know, music, and trying to make my own band work. And that's when we originally got together. And then when we actually started dating, we stopped working together, because I thought, you know, as a new couple, I thought the pressure was a bit too much to have on our relationship. And then when The Feeling got signed and took off, we didn't work together for another 10 years.
That's right, yeah.
And so, you know, I toured all the way around the world, and we had long periods of time where we didn't see each other as much as we'd have liked. And so when we sort of started working together again it wasn't until about 2013, 14, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's just because you wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, initially it was the right thing presented itself, because Sophie took a change of direction in her music and wrote an album with a really close friend of ours called Ed Harcourt, and when it came to producing the album, we just wanted to do it, and so we made it together. And his wife played the strings and I played bass.
Oh, sounds fantastic.
And it did very well, and then we started touring together, and then it sort of opened that door again, really.
And probably actually with life getting hectic and more babies and stuff, it's probably made sense that while that's happening in the home, we've kind of made sure that we've got time when it's just the two of us to do other things, which is actually really nice, isn't it? Otherwise, I probably wouldn't really see you that much.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're in a festival, you're playing for 2 different bands.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're also, both of you, doing cookery demonstrations.
Well, that's new.
Yeah, we've just added that in.
We do, exactly.
Yeah, we did realise we're doing our first one tomorrow, actually, in Tunbridge Wells, where we're doing a cooking demo before the gig. But it works out that we do the cooking demo, and then we've got half an hour, and then we're on stage.
Wow.
So normally you'd have a good hour and a half.
I actually forgot that. I should probably
Best
wear my
wearing
I'll be wearing
sequins.
sequins.
So you don't
Sequins.
You can wipe down sequins.
Okay.
Come on. That's the beauty of sequins. They're waterproof.
We might have taken off a bit more than we could chew, so to speak. Sorry.
What's on the menu tomorrow then for the demonstration? Is it
recipe
recipe from the book?
Yeah.
No, just going to make something up.
I've actually ordered a takeaway. No, we've got spaghetti vongole and a fennel salad, and it'd be really,
because there's 2 of us as well, which is sort of means we have to coordinate a bit more what we're going to do. So, but also it means we can do a bit more.
Yes.
So that's why we've added the fennel salad to the vongole as well. So just because it's more fun if we're both doing stuff.
Yes.
In theory, it's first time.
Good luck. I hope it goes brilliantly.
So do I.
I'm sure it will. Can I ask you this question? What's the thing you're most likely to be found guiltily eating straight out of the fridge?
I could horrify so many people easily because I like all sorts of stuff. Like I'm trying to think of like the guilty. I mean, I don't really like the idea of guilt and pleasure, like that guilty pleasure thing. I think you should own it. However, I think you can feel a bit ashamed of yourself admitting things.
Come on then. I hope this is terrible.
Well, I think it's things like if I'm having, like if I had like, let's say I'm lucky enough to have some smoked salmon in there and I put it on toast, I'll also definitely dip that in ketchup.
Salmon and ketchup, wow.
If I eat a cupcake, I will eat the paper that is underneath the cupcake. That's all dinner.
I just don't think that's good for you. So
no, it probably isn't a very good idea.
Yeah.
What could
you colour ink and stuff in the paper?
What's the motivation for doing that?
Well,
very good question.
You don't want to lose.
Childhood trauma.
Well, actually, actually, when I was a kid, I used to eat chew lots of things like you're not supposed. Like my Cindy's, none of them had feet. I used to eat all the feet off them.
Swallow.
I told you I'd horrify people.
Did you swallow the plastic?
Sometimes.
No.
Optional.
I can't be good.
So I think probably the idea of eating things you're not supposed to eat was from a young age. But I'm not like that crazy guy that eats glass and stuff.
No, of course not. You've just
got a limit.
Crazy guy.
You know,
they're doing professional.
No. That's like someone we used to see on telly when we were kids.
Yeah.
You used to eat bits of planes and things.
Oh yes, I remember. What have you caught Richard eating?
Remember anything?
Nothing awful.
I don't think you're quite as unclassy as me.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the standard, probably stereotypical man thing of opening a fridge and just eating ham and things just straight out the packet.
Would you bite the cheese?
I wouldn't bite the cheese.
Someone in my house has definitely, I've seen Mark.
Oh, we've got a kid who does that. And he'll eat like a mouthful of fruit and put it back.
No.
Yeah. He's outrageous. He'll go over to someone's plate and fry a bit and then just put it back. I mean, he actually adores food. He's
been experimental.
He's very experimental and he's quite sensory about it.
Right.
So it's fine, but it's also
really unhygienic.
Unhygienic and quite annoying because you'll put something in there and then he won't check what it's for or anything, and you just find it's gone. You go, yeah, I just ate that.
Yes,
like, well, that was part of the supper.
That's getting worse as with teenagers who my son's wants to cook dinner for his girlfriend, and they've just eaten.
The thing you've got yourself a nice steak.
Too good for them, without a doubt.
You know what? That happened to me once with someone cooking some salmon. Richard was aware, and I was going to cook salmon when I got in from work, and the babysitter had eaten it. I wasn't home late, by the way, and I think after she'd gone, I think I cried a little bit because I hadn't got anything else to eat, and it was just the thing I was just going to do for myself.
Yes.
You know,
it was your special treat,
it was my special thing, and it was gone.
And it's and just,
no kidding.
she wouldn't have enjoyed it like you did.
I'd go and eat all the doll's feet again and be sad.
It's things like really lovely, expensive pancetta gone.
Right, yeah.
Now let's see what the questions we've got coming through.
Oh, actually, my 3-year-old tipped out an entire thing of truffle powder.
Oh, yeah. Truffle dust.
This huge pile of it, and then put his handprint right in the
Turned
middle.
into like a sand pit.
Yeah, on the floor.
Very expensive
What
sand
did you
pit.
do? Nothing.
And
Just
then-
Scooped off the top layer, of course.
Put it back in. But then
Yeah.
he went to nursery smelling like truffle.
Yeah, if you came round, I wouldn't put it on your food, I
Did it
promise.
put you off a bit? The truffle air.
No, I just
No,
thought it was
I love
funny
truffle.
because he said he didn't do it, but he really smelled of truffle.
That's a difficult one to get away with.
And the handprint as well.
There's a question here. Have any of your recipes ever gone horribly wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that just, I guess, is that when you're cooking dinner or when you were writing the book or just generally?
I haven't had anything like sort of like really awful recently I can think of, but I know when I was younger, and I had actually it's probably one of the reasons why all our I love cooking feasting meals now if I've got lots of people to feed. So something you can chuck in the middle of the table, all your side dishes, just people get stuck in. When I was younger and I was trying to sort of be fancy, I was probably about 21, 22, and I had people around, and I cooked individual, I think it was something like, I've never cooked again, for like venison steaks.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. And I made the mistake of asking everybody how they wanted it cooked, and I just remember being so stressed in the kitchen trying to keep an eye on all this stuff. So that's why I really love something big, hearty, like just get stuck
And
in.
these
I'm
are all
not doing individual fancy
These are all
things.
tried and tested, and if you follow it,
Then you'll be all right.
It does,
Fine.
it does
Yeah.
work.
There are always variables, you know,
Yeah.
different oven temperatures or
Yeah.
all sorts of
Definitely.
But generally, for recipes, if it works, it works if you follow it properly.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
but I think with
As you
experience,
say, with variables.
with experience as well, you kind of get to the point where you kind of, if something isn't quite ready, even though the recipe said it's 40 minutes, you sort of you look at it and you can even smell it and kind of go, okay, that
5
definitely
more
needs a little
minutes,
bit
so
more.
yeah.
And you kind of just with experience
That
that,
is experience in
comes.
it. Yeah.
Have you ever tried going vegan, or are you open to trying it?
Vegan specifically,
Yep,
No,
I
thank
have
you.
been.
I do support
have.
it.
you have tried.
I toured playing bass on several legs of Bryan Adams' tour in 2016-17. Did about 50 gigs with him.
So that means you didn't choose it.
I didn't choose it, but I did it.
You're
And
happy
you-
about it.
And
actually.
it was great because what happened was he had a long-term bass player that had a family emergency and then ended up having to go home to Canada, and he was trying to find a bass player, and it sort of worked out that I could do it, and I really enjoyed it. We toured all over Europe and
You had
Southeast
to learn all the
Asia.
songs.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs,
Oh, you have to learn
but
the
he has the two things that he has on tour is firstly travel is always very comfortable, and secondly is food. And because he's vegan, he doesn't, and he's got to do a show and he needs his energy. He doesn't want to take any risks with whatever happens to be in any local cuisine or catering. So he tours with a chef.
And it's all vegan food.
Yeah. And so
It's
that
good,
was
it's really
amazing to kind of experience. It's like a guy that's like Michelin
So
star.
it was amazing food.
Yeah.
Did you feel
Yeah.
better for it?
Not really.
No. Okay. You just enjoyed the
no,
experience.
but I
We
didn't feel.
do cook vegan sometimes
Yeah,
anyway.
but I didn't feel worse for it, and I certainly felt good about it.
Yeah. I think it's good to make sure you have meals that don't have meat and stuff in them for sure. It's good. We don't do it every week. We make sure there's,
Yeah, I definitely. In May, I don't know if it comes across in the book, but we think of meat as something that is a real treat,
Yes.
and it's something that if you're going to have it, you try and make sure that it's the best quality,
Yeah.
and it's spend a bit more money, and because it's worth it.
Or use less.
I'm definitely.
Yeah.
We often use small amounts in a pasta sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't need
it's
as much as you think.
No.
Portions don't need to be as big
No.
No.
as they often are.
But you were actually vegetarian when we met, weren't you?
Yeah. Sophie actually stopped me from being a vegetarian.
She tempted you with
Yeah,
her cooking.
exactly.
Stopped
Thank
me,
you. That's
she
a nice.
forced me.
No, I did. I basically, just Richard did eat fish, so I thought my sort of gateway meat was duck.
Right.
So I thought it.
It's halfway out the water.
Yeah.
And do you remember that dish?
Yeah.
The duck
No.
that Sophie
I
cooked.
think it was the vibe I was getting was, things were going very well and we were having a great time.
Ah.
But she wasn't that into the fact that the food options were limited to the occasional fish and vegetarian food.
So you
Although I
thought,
love fish very much.
We eat more like that.
Yeah, we
in
do.
general.
We do.
but you tempted me into, and you'd think it'd be a bacon sandwich or something, but I think that was a bit of a step too far. So just a lovely duck breast.
Duck, yeah, that's such a funny. Looking back, it's really funny.
Duck is great, isn't it, when it's cooked well?
Yeah, but if you've been a vegetarian, duck's quite a leap.
Yeah, and it's also not the easiest thing to cook, especially in a very tiny little flat.
Well, it's quite
so
forgiving.
much smoke coming out of the oven, I remember, from all the
Nearly
oil
nearly
and
burnt the
fat,
house
the
down.
duck fat. But yeah, that's what we wooed each other with food very early on, definitely. Yeah.
I think that's the same for a lot of couples, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your memories are based around sharing lovely meals together.
Yeah, completely.
And you've got a section about Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And that's really lovely. Although you actually cook a live lobster in there.
Yes.
I was very impressed with that. Not many people would go that far, even real foodies.
Well, when we
I think, what was it? We
went on a cookery course.
Was that a present
really,
for us, or did we get it?
I think maybe my mum. Okay, it was either me for you or my mum.
Ago.
Yeah, it was. It was a really long time.
Anyway.
And it was a fish course, and they taught us
how to do that.
Yes.
How to do that. And it's actually not that hard.
Yeah, and
we just need to know which bits to take out, which
exactly.
we tried
Right.
to describe.
Yeah. So hopefully we've done a good description.
You both can do it.
Yeah, yeah. When I was little, I was always encouraged to have a very good understanding of what it was on my plate and where it came from and what it looked like before and everything, whether it be a vegetable or fish or anything. So, I remember when I was 4 and my mum was doing Blue Peter and she went to Kenya for a work trip filming there, and I was taken over there with my dad. And 4 years old, and the place where we were, they cooked live lobster, and I still remember seeing it being held up, and that fascination of that thing that's alive now, we're going to eat it. And of course, for some people that might make them feel really uncomfortable, but for me, that's actually been a really healthy way to have a relationship with. If you're going to eat meat and eat fish, I want my kids to feel like that as well. I want them to understand and marvel at how beautiful things are. If we have a whole fish, I'd be, look at it, isn't it gorgeous? Look at the way it looks. Yeah, and I just want them to understand. I don't want them to have a disassociation. I think
one
it's
of our, for
healthy.
I guess for that reason, one of our children's vegetarian.
Yeah.
It's his choice.
I said,
and
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and he did it very quietly, and it really suits him.
He literally said, I love animals and I don't want to eat them.
Right.
And we totally respect that.
Totally respect it.
Yeah.
We just adapt things.
Quite impressed with him, really, because he just sort of got on with it, and it wasn't attention seeking. He just, as I said, quietly just made that decision, and he stuck to it. He was tested like day 1. I think the kids wanted burgers, and he didn't have it.
We went, nope.
Yeah, he hasn't looked back, has he?
No.
That's him.
There's a question here. How often do you go to restaurants, and do you have a favourite one for the family?
Oh, yeah, we do go to restaurants quite often.
We're 7 of you.
We go to restaurants quite often with work, I guess. It's like a real perk of the job that you often find yourself, out and about and exploring new cuisines. But yeah, there are definitely places near us we go, yeah.
But I think with the kids, we like
chilled as possible, please.
Chilled family places. There's a really good pizza place near us. And
yeah, there's Laura, Turkish place.
Yeah, family-run Turkish restaurant.
Do you have to have a vote?
I can't really operate like that.
So you just say, we're going here and that's that?
Yeah, because otherwise it all gets so messy, and you can guarantee that people might say, oh, I don't want to go, and then as soon as they get there, they're fine.
Yeah. So you'd end up voting on everything, wouldn't you?
Yes, and I think nowadays with, we're so lucky in the modern age that you can order things to your door, and everybody could have a different cuisine delivered, and I'm trying not to get too comfortable with that, because I think it's not very realistic. Well, it's a bit cushy, isn't it?
It's one of the reasons I quite like going to a food hall, is because everyone we can disperse and then reconvene.
Well, that's festivals too, actually.
Yeah.
We haven't done that with.
Where's the nearest place we go after? I think, wouldn't we?
There are quite a few.
Maybe you should give us some tips.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are.
And we've definitely done that abroad. That's really fun. But I think in London we'd have to know.
It used to be like a shopping mall thing, and they were always awful. But now there's like the market halls in Victoria, and there are a lot of places where you can.
And there's farmers markets as well, where you can do all that, all the different stalls. We've done that not very long ago. That was really fun, actually. We should do it again.
There's a question about your ingredients. Do you shop online? Do you have a favourite? Do you use favourite local fishmongers or butchers? Or
we have local places. We're very spoiled. Very near our front door, there's everything.
That's great.
Yeah, it is actually an amazing fruit and veg place. A really lovely woman who runs it. It's really well stocked. Fishmongers, butchers, yeah, they're great. they know us in there now, don't they?
Yeah.
So we have a little chat as well. It's nice.
Yeah, and we like we said, if we're going to do something like that.
Yeah.
But
But obviously, online shopping is part of like family life as well, and convenience. And
there's a lot of shreddies and things that come through our door. The staples.
Yeah.
Do you menu plan?
Sometimes.
Richard's better at that than me.
Particularly in the lockdown bits.
Yeah, you got really, really good at that.
You had to. We had to, because it was just us two and the 5 kids, and so we just had to kind of. And actually, some of what's in there definitely came out of that time when I would kind of go like, right, what are we going to do? Okay, maybe we'll do something Mexican one day, and then we'll do a spaghetti bolognese, and then I'll do a massive amount of bolognese, and then I'll do a chili con carne with the leftover bolognese the day after,
all that kind
and
of
then
thing.
kind of just work your way through, but changing it up so that it's still interesting. Especially when you're stuck at home, like the meal times were just such a time to actually.
Also, they rolled around so quick.
I was going to say, it felt never ending.
It really did. There's always someone or something. Because we also at the time we still had 3 cats, and it was like, literally, you'd be like, oh my god, it's nearly lunchtime already.
Somebody wants food.
And no school dinner, so none of it being taken care of.
Also, I think we all lent a little bit into comfort food quite a bit, like the mac and cheese. There's a recipe in there that we love that
became a.
Yeah, but things
regular.
like that we would eat more often than we normally would.
What was it Kit said? Why do we keep having...
Why do we keep having... Yeah, Kit was like, why do we keep having these elaborate meals?
Because we're suddenly right.
I just really want to do it, and it's a nice thing
It's also a thing you'd done that day, like an achievement of like, we made this new dish, or we tried this.
We had a couple of essentially Christmas dinners on a Wednesday.
Yeah, why not? But now that everything's sort of settled back down to normal, are you finding it hard to get everybody back around the table? Because, they're doing, in our house we've got after-school activities, and we're all coming in, or I might be late we're all doing different things. The thing about lockdown was everybody you had a captured audience.
That never would have happened,
I love that.
No.
That's really like, you've got kind of a year's worth of Sundays in a month.
Yeah, we're very, typical, I'm sure, working parents where we love eating supper with our kids in the midweek, but it just doesn't always happen. So it's the weekends really where it's really special, and I always have breakfast with them as well before school. I just like being able to look in everybody's eyes and just check in. I think my mum was always like that with me, so I think it's really important the eating together bit's really a good time for.
So you just mentioned breakfast. Is that one of the occasions that you like to all sit together then?
Definitely in the mornings, yeah. I really love us all having breakfast together. That's it. That's if it's like a busy week. But supper time, I think. Now it's a bit more back to the normal ebb and flow of things. Like tonight, for example, we didn't eat with them, and I think I love that in lockdown. That sort of we eat quite early with them when we eat with them. It's like 5:30, and I'm really grateful.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. I really liked it as well.
Well, then you go back to the office and you're like it's midday. And you're like, let's go and we've missed lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all good.
There's a question here, Sophie, about your outfits.
Ooh, okay.
How many outfits do you have, and where on earth do you store them?
How many?
But that's impossible to answer.
So does anybody know? Actually have a number?
Most people don't have a room full of them.
Well,
Sophie got a room full.
Well, hang on a minute.
Well, one of our kids' rooms.
Richard's answering my
Sorry,
question.
carry on.
Sorry.
In terms of how many?
Yeah,
exactly. I absolutely love collecting stage clothes and and nonsense like party dresses someone didn't want in like Mississippi that they're selling for
packages arrive
£2 on eBay. That's like totally my thing. So if someone's got an barely used like bridesmaid outfit, I'm sure I'll have it. Yeah. And the vintage thing's tricky because once you're into it, it's just never ending. I love it very much. And as for where they're in our 3-year-old's bedroom, so he sleeps surrounded by sequins and
a lot of shoes.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you shoes? What about handbags?
That's not really my thing, actually.
Still got a lot of them.
Well, I don't throw them away. If I've still got clothes and shoes I wore when I was a teenager. I've literally got things from my first band, which was like 16, 17. I find it really hard to get rid of old friends. But that being said, there's a local charity shop, the Bernardo's, that does very well out of my things where I'm like, okay, thank you very much, it's time to move on.
So you're good actually at going, right, now's the time to...
Yeah, I like it, and I always know when it's the right things, when it's time for them to leave, and then I get very flattered if they put them on the mannequin in the window. I'm like, thank you very much.
I'd say you're better at it.
What? Getting rid of things. You don't win any prizes for getting rid of something you later wish you'd kept. So what's the point? Oh, it doesn't affect you, baby. It's fine.
I live in that house
too.
with all the things.
Yeah, lucky you.
Now let's see what other reader questions you've got. And if you want to send us a question, just scroll down and there's a box there where you can put them through and they'll come straight through to us here. It's, one of the questions is, what is the highlight of both of your careers? I bet that's very difficult to answer, actually.
Well, I always think just the fact I'm still doing the thing I love.
So you feel like you've not there yet?
I just think, you know, I've been really lucky to still do something that not everybody is lucky enough to do, the thing they've loved since they were a teenager. So I think keeping going is the best bit, really. And as for highlights, I don't know, I'm not really very good at thinking like that. So in the here and now, yeah, just...
In the here and now?
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
Pyramid Stage Glastonbury.
Oh, that's a good one. I would have said that if I'd played it. Or your Ivan Novello.
The first thing that I thought about. And then we played the Diana tribute concert at Wembley Stadium.
It's another one thing I haven't done.
Amazing.
that was memorable for you?
Memorable, but also surreal. And but same with Glastonbury, because I've been going since I was a teenager, and to actually play Glastonbury was incredible the first time, but to actually be on the pyramid stage is a little bit surreal in that I was living a childhood dream in reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you actually sort of pinch yourself in that moment, like playing at Wembley Stadium. Like, is this really happening?
Yeah,
Am I really doing this?
Yeah. That was lovely.
And those things completely crystallised in my mind.
There's a question here about who looks after the food when you're touring or you're not at home. I'm sure I read that you have an amazing au pair.
Yeah, we do. I mean, unfortunately, Yelena's moved out now.
Oh, no.
And we love her like family, so she's been back to visit loads.
Cook,
but oh my God,
she's
such a natural cook. You know, one of those people
Yes,
where I'll look in the fridge and think, I can't make anything.
Yes.
So just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, she's fantastic. So I had to absolutely include just a tiny, percentage of the things she's capable. She's a brilliant cook. But yeah, there's loads of people like that. I mean, we've got some, like any working parents, we've got amazing childcare. We're very lucky that the people we've had often are as excited about cooking as we are. And it's sort of one of the first conversations I've always had with anyone if they're going to, come and look after the kids. And like,
what would you make?
What would you make? And the kids too, they really like trying new things and kind of getting a grip of like what the flavours are that they're going to expect. So that's all really nice. And actually our first nanny we ever had was called Nanny Claire, and she was our nanny for 11 years. She's literally like, I don't know, like the kid's aunt or something. I absolutely adore her. And so she's got her cake in there because she was the resident baker for a very long time. So my baking's not great because Claire would have been so offended if I'd taken over the baking.
Sure not.
That was definitely her thing, and she's great at it.
Her Yorkshire pudding as well?
Yeah,
actually, her Yorkshire pudding as well, yeah.
And we use, that's our staple now with every roast.
It was like a huge one.
Yeah, and that's how I learned how to do it as well.
Big tray, and you just tear it up.
And it comes out really easily. Yeah, you had to try to chip them out of it.
Exactly. And it looks great, this big thing.
And
you
it'll
can
feed a
tear
lot of
bits
people.
off, and I really like doing that.
So your kids get involved in creating recipes and helping you, but do they ever cook the dinner? Does Sonny ever go, right, I'm in charge
Still
tonight?
working on that.
Sonny, not so much, but Kit, actually, Kit's getting in the grip of it.
Kit's the one so far that he's got a palate. Like he eats food with a bit of spice. He kind of like, he gets a lot of pleasure from food like we do. And yeah, there's an almond pesto in there that he wanted to put in there, which is very similar to any pesto, but just using almonds as well as pine nuts. And I think that's great.
He's going to cook more and more, isn't he, Kate?
But fundamentally, they're a bit lazy, aren't they, kids?
Well,
it's quite easy for them to just...
They're lazy. Well, I don't know about lazy. I think, it's that thing. You come in from school, that's taken a lot out. You just want to like...
Oh, you're being much kinder than me, aren't you?
When they're older, I really want them to have the skill set. And I mean, it's funny, actually, because my mum, obviously, she always wanted me to share her passion for cooking. And my mum's got recipes in there too, and so she would always cook with me and all this. And then I left home at 18, and I think I was about like 22, and she suddenly phoned me in a panic saying, I realised you left home and I forgot to teach you how to make a white sauce. Oh. She was absolutely mortified. It's quite old school, really. Like, it's not like tons.
Losing sleep over it.
Yeah, she really was like, I've done the wrong thing. You're supposed to know how to make it. So.
Do you think what are the fundamental dishes that you want them to learn then when they leave?
I actually just want them to be able to make themselves something that they like. I don't mind what it is.
Yeah.
You can build on that.
Yeah, it's good spag bol.
Yeah, because as you said, it's really versatile.
Or a tomato sauce for pasta as well.
Pomodoro.
Yeah,
Pomodoro for pasta is so simple.
Can be pizza.
They can pretty much do
yeah,
that. Yeah,
they can actually. We've covered that
They
one.
can do that.
But I think as well, you know, what I'm hoping is that, you know, the old saying like, do as I say, not as I do,
Yeah.
which is actually the opposite of what happens. So we could say to them, you must do this, you must do that, and they ignore you. But what they really do is they watch what you do.
Definitely.
And then when they're older, they'll have grown up with a mum and dad that are always cooking.
Yeah.
And I think that tends to be really what happens is kids, they observe.
Yes.
And that's where they really learn. And so that's what I'm just hoping.
Also, I do
know,
I
think, in some way.
So I subscribed to the Nigel Slater. When I left home, my mum did buy me a Nigel Slater cookbook, and I had it literally by my bed. I used
Do you remember
to read
which
it.
one was it?
I think it was called Real Cooking. I think it was one of the really. I had a yellow cover.
Yeah.
Well, the inside cover was the folder bit I lost really early on. It's like it's still got all the splatters on it. It was like my first proper cookbook. And in the beginning, he says, you know, don't buy it if you think you can't cook. If you can make yourself a cup of tea, you can cook. It's just ingredients and timing. And I thought that was such a genius way of describing about, basically what we're talking about is confidence.
Yes.
You don't question it if you're doing that. But actually, things just expand on that theory. Obviously, you can get very complicated things, but that theory of just competence and confidence, most people can achieve those basics.
Yes.
So you can just build on it. And I think with the kids, it's the same thing. Like, if we start off with just literally, it can be like...
A cup of tea?
Yeah, a cup of tea and
Make me a
toast.
cup of
And then
tea.
you can just build. Okay, right, we've got that. What next?
When a child first brings you a cup of tea, that is amazing,
Exactly.
isn't
It
it?
really is. Yeah, it really is.
Simple thing.
Mine
Yeah.
came up the stairs with cling. He put cling film
Really?
over the top.
What, so it wouldn't
because he knew he wouldn't
spill?
get it up the
That's
stairs.
very
Oh,
smart.
that's
I
very
was like,
sweet.
wow.
It's quite impressive.
That is really smart. Cute as well.
I would have definitely just spilt it all over the stairs.
Oh my God, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, now then, I'm sorry. I'm so busy chatting with you. I'm not paying
Don't
enough
worry about
attention to the questions. Do you have a favourite chef?
Ooh.
It means famous in brackets.
Yeah.
A celebrity chef.
My dad,
Ah.
of course.
Do we have a favourite chef?
Well,
That's quite tricky to answer, isn't it? Loads of people.
Are you friends with chefs? So it's a difficult one to answer.
No, we have been lucky enough to meet a few people, I guess. But I think it's also we started off with one place for cookbooks, and now we've got 3, haven't we? Places where around a cookbook.
and I guess, you know, you're talking about Nigel Slater, who we think is like
Yes.
the genius of cooking. But would he be called a chef? No.
I think maybe they mean, you know, sort of like
Yeah.
The
going to a
Heston
Gordon,
Blumenthal
or a
or the-
Gordon Ramsay.
I do go back to Jamie Oliver. I know he's like, I think what he did when we were young was quite revolutionary. And
it's true.
we both got his first book, and he just had so much passion.
Yeah.
And he really did that thing of sort of tearing up all the old-fashioned ways and just went like, look, if you just get real ingredients and just throw them together in this way, it's delicious.
Yeah, he taught me like how
He's
to
sort
do
of-
early Christmas dinners and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he sort of demystified a lot of cooking, and even the simple things of going, right, get some fresh parsley rather than using dry parsley.
That's true.
Try it with a bit of lemon juice on this fish, and you're like, oh wow.
I think also the best teachers always, they are not snobbish about the information and the wisdom that they have. They actually want you to
Yes,
get it.
of course.
So I think people who have that generosity
Yes.
with
Yeah.
their expertise, it's really infectious, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think he had that, didn't he? That or has that. Yeah.
But recently, I'd say, because for our anniversary, Sophie surprised me and took me to, what was the name of the restaurant?
Myrtles. Yeah.
Who's the chef there
That's Anna Howe's restaurant.
which was every year, so for our anniversary, because we said we're big foodies,
Yeah.
we take turns in surprising each other with
That's lovely.
a very
dish.
special meal. And it could be something like Michelin starred, or it could just be something that we've read about somewhere,
Yeah.
where we're like,
Yeah.
it's street food or something.
And one time it was overnight in a zoo, but that's
Well, yeah.
which I think has a nice food. But
Yeah.
Overnight in a zoo, was that?
Yeah.
so just 1 year. But
fun.
Rich is right.
Yeah, in general,
all the other years have been.
it's a restaurant, and this year Sophie surprised me and took me to Myrtle,
Yeah.
and it was extraordinary.
It actually really was
because
wonderful.
she's
It's so nice.
She's taken Irish food into this really theatrical fine dining experience.
But it was also not stuffy. They were really
No.
personable, and it's very relaxed. So it's sort of all the best elements of a special
Yeah.
night. And we were there for hours.
Yeah, but using
that was
a
really
lot of
nice.
oysters, a lot like offals and different sort of things that you wouldn't normally, because it's normally like generally French based, or when you go into those
And
sort of-
nothing we'd make at home as well, which I think was a real treat. It's all like special.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a night at the theatre.
Yeah. Well, sometimes our tasting menu can feel a little bit overwhelming when there's like 10 courses.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's very cleverly done when it's done right.
Yeah.
And you walk out there feeling like you're full, but you're not kind of overindulged.
So that's one you're recommending for us.
Definitely, yeah. It's really special, actually. Really lovely.
Let me just see if there's any more reader questions for you. What's the next book you're going to write?
Oh, blimey.
So this is
Love
a family
food
cookbook. Are you going to? Where's it going to go? And where's your next intention?
Love wood family, about the sort of trees and
Gardening.
love wood family.
You're doing
gardening
outdoors,
book.
outdoors cooking.
Yeah.
Just keep swapping out
Would.
food,
You know
other
what?
things.
I think it's also new and exciting, but I wouldn't rule it out because we had so much fun making it.
What, doing
about making
one?
another cookbook of some.
Oh, if we're lucky enough, yeah.
Sophie, there's a question, I think I might know the answer to this, about when you're next going to be on TV.
Oh, well, Richard and I are both on telly tomorrow night on Gogglebox.
That was really good fun, was it?
Yeah, really good fun. So I did it a couple of weeks ago with my mum. And unfortunately, she's just recovering from having some retina surgery, so obviously couldn't watch telly.
Is she all right?
She is all right, thank you for asking. Yes, she is all right. And so Richard came round and we watched telly together.
I got roped in, but not at all reluctantly. I was
exactly,
very excited.
yeah.
So you watched some of it with your mum, or she didn't get?
We did it a few weeks ago together, so I did a different
and
episode.
now this is the next episode.
This is another episode, yeah.
So that's quite a nice substitution there. I bet you enjoyed that.
I did. They were like, "Oh, thanks for doing it." I was like, "What are you talking about? It's great." No, we love Gogglebox. It's really fun. It's a really well edited and well put together show, and it's really sort of warm.
It's very charming.
Yeah.
So it was.
And it was fun.
It was really fun. Yeah, we just got to sort of watch a load of TV together and.
Did it take a whole night?
It's a few hours, but you know, I mean, I can do that. It's okay.
And you have to stay sober and not eat. No, you can just enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Cup of tea, couple of beers.
Oh, I think, unfortunately, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
It's been really lovely.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for all the questions.
I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And there's just a couple of things.
How many people logged off when I said about eating the Cindy doll's feet?
Who is this woman?
Go away, I'm not eating her food.
That isn't a recipe.
It's definitely not a recipe. Although it'd be very
recommended.
simple. It'd be very simple if you did want to try it.
There's just a couple of things I want to tell the readers, if that's all right.
Just make sure it's good quality doll's feet. No.
Now, tomorrow you should receive a link to the survey, so let us know how you found this evening.
Don't let us
Don't be
know.
influenced by that.
Let them know, I don't want to know.
Now, 100 lucky subscribers got a free copy.
Hey.
For the rest of you that didn't, there's a 20% promo code that you can get that will send to you so you can buy the book at the Telegraph bookshop.
Bargain.
And please remember to keep an eye on the Telegraph Extra website for some more events and other competitions and offers and things that are taking place. But just want to say thank you again. I've really enjoyed chatting.
Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you.
And I think it's a wonderful book, and I hope it does really brilliantly.
Thank you.
Thank you. And have a good evening, everybody that watched tonight. Thank you.